Oscar Hotel Foxtrot. We're just about to start the Mississauga Amateur Radio Club net. Hang in there if you'd like to do a check-in. I've just got to get through a few things. Okay, I thought I'd say good evening to all. This is Victor Alpha 3, Golf Delta Zulu. My name is Gary, and I'm your controller tonight for the Mississauga Amateur Radio Club Tuesday night net. This net's available on the club's VHF repeater and on Echolink, starting at 20:30 hours EDT, right about now, 00:30 UTC, and expected to last about an hour with a little bit of contingency on the end, depending on the number of check-ins. To participate in the net locally, you can do so on the VE3MIS VHF repeater, tune 145.430 megahertz with a negative 600 kilohertz offset and a 103.5 hertz tone. Please stand by. To participate on Echolink, connect to the TechLink conference, which is node 9229, or one of the conferences that may be connected through TechLink. Let's see here. Let's get on with things. Because of the Echolink connections, we have to leave a couple seconds for all the links to connect, so please don't rush when coming back to me. If you'd like to find out more about the Mississauga Amateur Radio Club, visit our website at www.marc.on.ca. That's Mike Alpha Romeo, Charlie.OscarNovember.Charlie Alpha. Club's email address is ve3mis@rac.ca. Victor Echo 3, Mike India Sierra at Romeo Alpha Charlie.Charlie Alpha. My email's on my QRZ page. This is Victor Alpha 3, Golf Delta Zulu, and my name is Gary, Golf Alpha Romeo Yankee. Please stand by. The purpose of the net is to share news and views with club members and amateur radio enthusiasts who are either local or from far and wide. It also provides experience for volunteer operators in net practices and emergency operating procedures. All check-ins are welcome, and we especially value any international participation and invite non-members to join in as well. Please stand by. We'll start by having one round of check-ins, alternating RF and Echolink. If time permits, there's going to be an optional second round where you can comment on what you've heard or just say 7-3 to all who's connected. Short-time check-ins, either urgent or mobile, will be called first, and then general check-ins will follow. General check-ins will also alternate between RF users and Echolink users. Listen carefully for the group that best matches your circumstances. Please stand by. So the plan for this evening is a few club announcements by me. I'm then going to get the pen out and record your check-ins by type. And for you guys listening, you can share any news or activities or take a crack at the question of the day. It's going to be related to what we think is coming back to normal in this COVID period, but more on that later. Then there'll be an optional comment round. You can comment on what you've heard others say, or just say 7-3 for tonight. Please stand by. Okay, I'm going to proceed with some local club news and announcements. People from outside of our region, please be patient. There's not that much of this. The Mississauga Amateur Radio Club meets virtually via Zoom conferencing software or in person on the second and third Thursday of each month, respectively. Our general meetings emphasize comradeship and learning and are open to guests and visitors. We're going to try a hybrid format for the next meeting, which is this Thursday, September the 23rd. The location is St. Thomas Becket Anglican Church, 3535 South Common Court, Mississauga, Ontario, and the time is 7:30 p.m. Information on this is available on the club website. Please stand by. members can attend in person with COVID precautions in place. This includes masks to be worn at all times, physical distancing being maintained, contact tracing, taking names and phone numbers of people who attend, and no outside food or drinks. The meeting room itself is massive with 20-foot-high ceilings and full ventilation, and the facility has a safe capacity of up to 40 people. Also, there will be live video streaming. The topic will be a talk about the gear donated to the club from Silent Keys over the years, so club managers and club members can speak up if they have any interest. Plus, we hope to have a fellow ham visitor from Arizona give us a bit of a recap about his remote station operating practices. Please stand by. Just a little bit about nets on this repeater. All times are Eastern Daylight Time in North America. Tomorrow, there's a cross-Canada IRLP net. It's every Wednesday from 11 till noon, Eastern Daylight Time, on this repeater, VE3MIS, via IRLP node 9013. On Friday, there's the Echolink conference, hosted by Reg from Western Australia. It's between 8 and 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on VE3MIS via Echolink 9229, or just the Echolink conference if you're using Echolink. For any detail on these, you can, or any questions on what I've just said, you can send an email to ve3mis@rac.ca or check our club website, ve3mis.ca. Please stand by. Okay, before we get to a few check-ins, this net spans not only our local region here in southern Ontario, but comes in on the internet via Echolink, and we're also streaming it on YouTube. This can be pretty useful to anybody who's checking in, because when you've had your chance to share your news and views, you can go back later and hear yourself on YouTube, and you can hear how you're coming in, either by radio or through the internet on Echolink. So just replay the YouTube video and hear yourself. All you have to do is type in VE3MIS, which is our repeater call sign, into the YouTube search and look for today's live feed. And I see we have Mark and Lawrence there. So Lawrence, you can type in if you want me to check you in once I start the check-in. Please stand by. Okay, check-in protocol. Please give your call sign using phonetics, followed by your first name. Check-ins will be in 4 groups. Any emergency or high priority, mobile, local RF stations coming into the repeater, and Echolink stations. Check into the group that best matches your circumstances, and if we have time for a second round, which I think we will, then that's your chance to comment or elaborate on what you've heard. Also, Echolink check-ins and RF check-ins will be called separately because there could be some doubling. Leave a gap of a second or two since there could be linked conferences. Try not to transmit for more than 1 minute to prevent system timeouts and allow others to check in and have their turn. You can actually say quite a bit in a minute and hopefully comment at the end of the first round. Please stand by. Okay, time to do some check-ins. Once I have some check-ins down, I'll give you the question of the day. When it's your turn, you have an option to tackle the question of the day or just tell us what's new in your area. So remember, call sign with phonetics followed by your name and your QTH if you're not local. And let's start with, is there any emergency or high priority traffic? Nothing heard. This is Victor Alpha 3, Golf Delta Zulu, net controller tonight for the Mississauga Amateur Radio Club, Tuesday Night Net. Do we have any mobile stations? Nothing heard. I heard one in there earlier, but I think he got away. I guess that's why you call mobile stations early. We'll try again later. There'll be plenty of opportunity for anybody else to check in if they like. Okay, people coming in an RF, go ahead with your call sign and name, please.
Echo 3, Juliet, Mike, Yankee. Name here is Murray.
Victor, Echo 3, Whiskey, Bravo, Foxtrot. Name is Barry. Over.
Victor, Alpha 3, Hotel, Echo, Sierra, Mark.
Victor, Echo 3, X-Ray, Bravo, Hotel, Brian.
Okay, I've got 4 there, Murray, Barry, Brian, and Brian. We're taking RF check-ins on the Mississauga Amateur Radio Club Tuesday Night Net. I'll get over to see if people are on Echolink momentarily. Let me try once more for any local mobile stations or anybody coming in on radio through our repeater. Please check in now. Okay, nothing more heard. We'll try again a little bit later. It's time for the Echolink stations. I think we've got one repeater connecting in there. Just for the benefit of any people who are outside of our region, thought I'd mention you're connected to Mississauga, which is in the province of Ontario, and it's the 6th biggest municipality in Canada. We're the western neighbor of Toronto, Canada's largest city, in the center of the Golden Horseshoe, which is a large urban and industrial region of 8 million people, spanning much of the northern and western shore of Lake Ontario, all the way down to Niagara Falls. Okay, we'll have to leave a little bit of a gap for any Echolink people. Oh, I don't know if he's there now. I'll try anyway. Any Echolink check-ins at this time? Oh, didn't hear any. One was in, but he seems to have slipped out. We'll check later if any other come in, because I'm monitoring Echolink while I'm checking that I'm coming through on the repeater and also on YouTube. We have so many different ways here. Okay, so for those of us who are here, let's go ahead for the question of the day. And the question of the day has to do with what's normal these days. So while the Delta variant has dealt us all a setback, there's many regions, countries that are starting to stabilize their numbers and live with the coronavirus. Things are only slowly improving, so they think maybe we're going to be stuck with living at a certain level. So the question of the day is, what activities have you observed that are back to normal, or at least close to back to pre-pandemic normal? If none, what new normal activities are we settling into that you think will persist? I'm talking about things, like travel, business, sports, leisure, education, all those kind of things. There's been a summary done by The Economist. At the end of the check-ins, I'll tell you what they had to say. They surveyed 50 countries, and they came up with what percent of normal people think they're back to. So that's the question of the day. Let me recap the check-ins. We have VE3JMY Murray, VE3WBF Barry, VA3AZA Brian, and VE3XBH Brian. Before we start the list, anybody else on Echolink or on RF would like to check in?
Victor, Alpha 3, Hotel, Echo, Sierra, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I'll add you to the list. Okay. I guess I'll give one example. Since at the end of this, I'm going to tell you what The Economist said. what I noticed is back to normal is traffic. Highway 401 was terrible this weekend. It's terrible during rush hour. It's terrible during the day. And even we went away on the weekend, just out of town. I could hardly get back into town because traffic was stop and go all the way across Mississauga and all the way across Toronto. So that's my 2 cents. Let's see what you guys have to say. VE3JMY, Murray, over to you. Could you give us your location, anything new that you want to share, and take a crack at the question of the day? Is anything back to near normal?
VE3JMY in the group. Good evening, Gary, and all on frequency. Well, I guess immediately, Gary, we're on a rain standby for 2 or 3 inches, and see that when it comes. I believe it when I see it, type of thing. But good question. Normalcy, I guess, is something that is being redefined. I think change takes some time. I think there's a growing awareness of, and the main problem has, as we all know, been, I guess, the pandemic, an awareness that's growing and having offshoots of disbelievers and believers, anti-vaxxers, vaxxers. Change takes time, and I think this awareness will be part of our new normalcy. It's growing, and it's going to take, I guess some people will never get over this pandemic, but for sure traffic and good old Canadian weather, you can count on more austere weather, put it that way. Back to you, Gary.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Murray, and checking in. Yeah, we're in for a lot of rain. I guess we're paying for that gorgeous weekend that we had, but I just could not believe how many people were out and about. Yeah, wearing masks, a little bit of distancing and limiting, but I don't know, people seem to be getting used to it. Is there any specific activity that you think people are sort of settling into or taking for granted that this is the normal, Murray? I'll pass it back to you.
Well, for sure the traffic and just loosening off of social get-togethers. We now can go to restaurants. Golf was another thing that I enjoy, and that really got opened up slowly. Some irritability. I guess the irritability of the population on many fronts is something that has come into focus and maybe quieting down in some areas and heating up in others. So it's a slow process. I think is the near future and just the middle future that we have to put up with in terms of a change to getting back to pre-pandemic. Gary, back to you.
Yeah, okay, Murray, thank you very much for your views. Your point about everybody being irritable after this long, that rings true. And maybe it's related to all these conspiracy theories and people not believing in facts anymore. I wonder. Hey, that's a good topic for maybe another day. Any other before I move on down the list, any other check-ins to the Tuesday Night Mississauga Amateur Radio Club Net? This is Victor Alpha 3, Golf, Delta Zulu, Gary.
Victor Alpha 3, Whiskey Mike, John in Niagara.
Yeah, thank you, John, for joining us. I've added you to the list, leaving a bit of space between calls here, just in case we have people coming in on Echolink. Okay, Barry, VE3WBF. Question of the day has to do with any activities that you've observed that come back to normal or at least near normal? And if not, what new normal activities is everybody getting comfortable with and settling in for the long term? Over to you, Barry.
VE3JDZ and the net. This is VE3WBF. As to the question of the day, I agree with you on the traffic. It's just as heavy as it was before all this nonsense started. Other than that, from the radio side of it, I've been quite quiet, doing very little radio work. Starting school is taking up a little bit of my time, so I'll send it back to the net. VE3WBF, over.
Yeah, thank you there, Barry. Yeah, you mentioned school. At least school is back. I'd hesitate to say it's back to normal because I have some relatives who are school teachers. They are not having an easy time with the hybrid system where they have to teach some in class and some virtual, and they are having a rough time and getting stressed out. So I don't know if you can comment on that perhaps in the second round. Before I move on, any new check-ins to the Tuesday night net of the Mississauga Amateur Radio Club? I'll repeat the question of the day in a moment. Any new check-ins, please?
VA3KX, Victor Alpha 3, QLFO X-ray.
VE3MIS repeater.
Okay, I copied Ken in there. Thank you, Ken. I added you to the list. We'll get to you in a moment. And I see we might have one or two more coming in on Echolink in a little while. And the question of the day is, what activities have you observed that are back to normal, or at least close to pre-pandemic normal? Because at the end of the check-ins, I'm going to tell you what The Economist had to say when they did a survey of 50 countries on how close they've returned back to whatever normal is these days. Okay, next on the list is Brian, VA3AZA. Go ahead, Brian. How you doing? And do you want to tackle the question of the day?
VA3GZ, this is VA3AZA. Well, good evening, Gary. Good to hear you, and a good question. Thanks for doing the net tonight. And yes, I heard your question of the day. And what is back to normal? Oh my goodness. Well, I think you hit it on. I think I would agree with you that traffic patterns are back to normal. Actually, they seem to be worse than normal, especially in South Mississauga, coming back from Port Credit and such. But yeah, not much. Not much is back to normal. Well, I guess the government is back to normal in the sense that given the election, nothing changed. So it's sort of back to the way it was before the election. Which I found very surprising, just from a sort of a probability point of view. It's like rolling two heads. But yeah, traffic definitely is back to normal. But most of the other things are not, I have to admit. That work is definitely not back to normal, that's for sure. But anyway, I'll pass it back to you. I don't think I'll be here for the second go. I have to make a phone call here shortly. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Over to you. VA3A today, over to Net Control.
Yes, thank you for your views on that, Brian. Yeah, the government, sadly, nothing's changed there. We're going to get taxed like crazy, I can tell, with all the expenses that they've had through the pandemic period. I also see that Lawrence, who's listening on YouTube, I've got you added to the list, Lawrence. If you want to answer the question of the day, just type it in the text box, and when it comes down to you, I'll see what you had to say. Any other check-ins for the Tuesday night Mississauga Amateur Radio Club net?
Net Control, VK6BQQ. Good morning from Australia.
Thank you for checking in there, Reg. It wouldn't be the same without you. Okay, moving down the list, we have Brian, VE3, is it VE3XBH. Brian, how's it going? And did you want to tackle the question of the day? What activities have you observed that are close to back to normal, if any?
VE3GDZ, VE3XBH. Good evening, Gary, and everybody on the net. Hello, Reg. Hope you're well. Good to hear you. Well, I definitely agree with the traffic. We were out and about, and traffic has certainly pretty much come back to pre-pandemic. But other than that, I haven't really noticed an awful lot of difference. Although I'm not working, so I don't have that issue to worry about. But I see more people on the street to go to the local plaza and that sort of thing. And, there's more people out and about. But other than that, I don't really see that much difference. Back to you, Gary.
Okay, Brian. Thanks for joining us tonight. You're going to be surprised at what the survey by The Economist had to say when I get to it at the bottom of the list. But let's move on and see what other people have to say. How about Mark, VA3HEF? How's it going, Mark? Thank you for doing the YouTube channel. And did you want to tackle the question of the day? What, if anything, has returned back to normal or close to back to normal? Because people seem to be trying to live with the current situation and get on with things. Over to you, Mike.
VA3GDZ, VA3HES. Thank you, Gary, and good evening and good morning to everyone on net, both far and wide. Well, I will agree with everybody that traffic, if not the same, I'm thinking it's worse. It's like certain people forgot how to drive while they were stuck at home. I've had to do a fair bit of across the city driving. Actually, I was all the way out in Pickering this afternoon, and I think some people should have their licenses pulled back or go back to driving school after not being behind a wheel for so long. One thing that's a little bit back to normal in our household is that both of my children well, my son just started kindergarten and my daughter's in grade 3 this year, so they are both happy to not be in the house, and my daughter's happy to actually be in a classroom and by her friends. But yeah, it is a bit of a strange time, because as much as things are kind of getting back to normal, we're still sort of stuck in the same place after a year and a half or so. That's all for now. Back to you, Gary.
Yeah, thank you for your views there, Mark. Yeah, we're sort of in a hump of the fourth wave here, aren't we? Things seem to be gradually improving, or at least people are adapting as best they can to it, especially some of the things I saw on TV. And yeah, school. It's certainly great to have the kids back in school, but they're not all back, and it's a hybrid system. And the school teachers I talk to, they are stressed out. So we're not quite all the way back there, but at least we're trying. I think the universities, as long as you're double vaccinated, you can go back to res and you can go back to classes and stuff like that. Although I think it was the 20 to 35 age group are the least vaccinated of the population. Anyways, that's very interesting. Let's hear what John has to say. VA3WM. John, how's it going? Anything new? And did you want to tackle the question of the day? What activities have you observed are close to back to normal, if any?
VE3GDZ from VA3WM. Well, Gary, I guess look back. We had a couple of positive blip activities with the N Park Club on the 9th of September. We had a meeting of the group, about 20 people attended. It was in a park. We were under a pavilion roof, kind of kept the rain away from us. We had some food. We had a weenie roast. So that was sort of an indicator of things coming back to normal. Whether we're going to be able to repeat that, that's under discussion at the moment. Now, the other positive blip is on Saturday, September the 11th, we had a Treasure in the Trunk event, which was quite successful for the club. And outdoors again, and all the protocols are followed. So just a couple of positive blips there. Going forward, well, I'm looking into the proof of double vax requirements and so forth, and trying to get my head around it, and how that's going to affect us. Back to you, Gary, VE3WM.
Just leaving a bit of a space there. Thank you very much, John, for telling us what's going on down in Niagara area. Both of those were outside, though, and we've had some pretty decent weather so far. That's not going to last. I don't know if you joined us earlier enough, but I mentioned that the Mississauga Club, we're going to try to have our first in-person meeting this coming Thursday in a large church hall with all the safety precautions. So we'll have to see how that goes. That's the first. But clearly we're not all the way back, but people are making the efforts, and that's one of the things we're talking about tonight, is are people settling into a new normal, or are they going back to before, or we're really not a long way from being there. And I'll tell you what the survey was momentarily. I'll stop for a moment and see if there's any new check-ins to the Tuesday night Mississauga Amateur Radio Club net. This is your net controller, Victor Alpha 3, Golf Delta Zulu Gary. Anyone else want to check in? Okay, nothing more heard. I see a few more people on the list, but if I'm not going to pull them off like you do sometimes there, Reg. He's like shooting fish in a barrel, that guy. Anyways, we're getting to you, but next on my list is VA3KEX, Ken. Come on in, Ken. What's new, and did you want to take a crack at the question of the day? What activities have you observed that are close to back to pre-pandemic normals? Or if you've seen nothing, what new normals are people sort of settling into for the long term? Over to you, Ken, and thanks for joining us.
VA3KEX. Pleasure to talk to you tonight, Gary, and hello everyone on net. To your question, something I see returning back to normal here, a couple of things. I've noticed more people now are going into parks, having picnics, sitting on the grass, sitting on benches, enjoying themselves. And I notice a lot more kids out playing together now. Particularly in this neighborhood, I've seen on the lawn in front of my apartment building, lots of kids playing together now, which I haven't seen in months. And something along new normal I see, and I think it's a little bit disturbing as far as my point of view is this, I think it's going to be with us for a while now, is this attacking and debunking of science. So I think that is going to be something that's going to be a bit of a new norm, and it'll be with us for a bit. Okay, thanks, Gary. Back to you, VA3KX.
Wow, that debunking of science and facts, that's related to, I think it might be related to a comment that Murray made. He said everybody's more irritable and cranky these days because of the pandemic restrictions. And I wonder if that entrenches us in some of these rigid ways of thinking, shall we say. I want to mention to other people on the net as well that Ken has a terrific science net. It's on Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It's also available on Echolink now on VA3 VWX link. That's VA3 VWX. He hosts a terrific Science Net, covers a wide variety of topics, 9 p.m. Saturday evenings, Eastern Daylight Time. Thank you, Ken, for joining us. We had Lawrence. I've got you checked in, Lawrence, VE3HQM, but you didn't answer the question of the day. I'll still give you a chance to do that if you can hear me and you want to type something into the chat box. Lawrence is on YouTube. Okay. Next we have Reg, VK6BQQ. I hope you heard the question of the day, Reg. You'll probably have a different answer than you would have had months ago because Australia was doing so well and into a bit of difficulty now. So, of course, your side of Australia, you said you were doing pretty good. But anyways, if you could speak to the whole country, were things getting back to normal? Are the people trying to live with the situation they have? Over to you, Reg, VK6BQQ. This is Victor Alpha 3, Golf Delta Zulu.
VE3 Golf Delta Zulu, shooting fish, eh? Yeah, well, you see, if you see call signs on the screen, I use the laptop and a headset, and you can see who's on there, and if you don't hear from them, you know, they're lurking, so I try and get them out and speaking. I'm still trying to figure out what's normal, what was normal and what is normal. But, yeah, here in the West, we've been all right through the whole pandemic. Our premier seems to be doing the right thing. Over on the east side, I'm not sure what those folks are doing. I see Victoria was looking at a tsunami. They had a bit of an earthquake over in Victoria, apparently. And, of course, the threat of war is imminent, as they say here now this morning. So, what is normal? What was normal? What will be normal? I think people are just trying to cope with their individual problems. The government doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot as far as helping out. Nobody has the real answer of what, why, where, and so on and so forth. Anyway, we're good here in Western Australia, and, well, maybe you can tell me what the survey says. Would be interested. Back to you, Gary. VK6BQQ, Reg here in West Australia.
To quote a famous person on the nets, always a pleasure, Reg. Hi, hi. Okay, yes, I'm going to share with you what the survey said. I'll just see one more time if there's anybody else wants to check into the net. Okay, so this is actually what prompted me to ask this particular question, because I saw this chart in The Economist magazine, and I thought it was pretty good of them to do it. They look at current activity relative to the pre-pandemic level. Now, if the pre-pandemic level is 100, I'm going to tell you what they found. And this is a population-weighted average of 50 countries. So countries with more population would probably have more influence on this. So you guys in the second round can tell me if there's something that stands out, if you agree or not. A few of these surprised me. Please stand by. Okay, time no longer spent at home, 95% back to pre-pandemic levels. That's good to see. Retail, they said 95%. So people are out shopping. I'm not going to comment. I'm just going to tell you the numbers. So time not spent at home, 95% back to normal. Retail, 95% back to normal. Public transport, 81%. Office use, 79%. Road traffic, 69%. I would have said 100, but anyway. 69% road traffic. Flights, 38%. Going to the cinema, 25%. And attending sports events, only 20%. I think they should have looked at some of the U.S. college games. Anyways, those are the results. Overall, 66%, or two-thirds of the way back to normal when they surveyed 50 countries. And by the way, North America was a little higher, was about 75% back to normal. So that's their results. Please stand by. Okay, it's time for the comment and 73 round. I'll see if there's any more check-ins one more time. Any other check-ins for the Mississauga Amateur Radio Club Net? Okay, none heard. Going back to the top, if you're not there, it's fine. How about Murray, VE3JMY, Murray? Any comments or 73? Over to you.
Gary, I've gone portable. Hell copy.
Yep, you're coming in fine. Go ahead, Murray.
On my front porch with the portable at arm's length. I think those figures are premature. Since the net's been on, we've heard from our daughter who reports that there's a bus full of juniors, school attenders in her class or in her school that are, I guess, under COVID quarantine. That seems to have happened today. I think it's pie in the sky that we're back to normal, and everybody keep safe. Over to you, Gary.
Okay, thank you, Murray. Yep, they say overall 50 countries surveyed, 2/3 of the way back to normal. It certainly depends on where you are, what's happening, and what specifically you're talking about. Okay, any comments back to you then, Barry, for the second round, VE3WB?
This is VE3WBF. I sympathize with the teachers. It's very, very difficult to teach virtually. You really do have to set yourself up, especially if you have the science side of it, where you're doing a lot of math, and you just cannot do those with PowerPoint or slides. You've actually got to sort of scribble stuff onto a whiteboard if you have the technology. It's better to be face-to-face with a blackboard. It works very, very nicely. And otherwise, watch the videos. It's the only way to do it. Back to net. This is VE3WBF, over.
Yeah, very good points there, Brian. I sympathize with them too. I think probably the only worst job is working in a hospital these days with them 90% full of all these COVID patients. Anyways, that's a separate topic. I think Brian, VA3AZA, said he wasn't going to be around for the second round. I'll just see if he's there for a moment. Nothing heard. VE3XBH. Brian, any comments?
VA3GDZ, VE3XBH. Gary, well, not really. The survey was a little bit surprising, but other than that, no, I don't really have much else to add on the topic. Just like to say thank you for taking care of the net this evening, and hope everybody stays well. And I'll say my 7-3 and send it back to you, Gary. VA3GDZ from VE3XBH.
Yeah, thanks for joining in there, Brian. You're certainly a stalwart as a net controller as well. Yeah, I found that survey a little eye-opening too, and that's why I wanted to ask you guys what you thought before I read out the survey. But anyways, it's The Economist magazine, and maybe we're lagging, or in some cases we're ahead. I don't know. That's why I asked for your views, Brian. Mark, VA3 HES, any comments on what you've heard, or your 73s? Over to you, Mark.
VA3 GDZ, VA3 HES returning. Sorry about that, I forgot to unmute my mic. No other comments. That is a little surprising. My heart does go out to the teachers that had to figure out how to teach, especially these things like science and math, over the web. Watching my daughter a few times over the last school year, I really wondered how the heck they managed to figure it out. But hats off to them. And one other little thing of note, anybody who's been trying the VE3MIS UHF repeater, it is currently down for maintenance. Our Wires X machine blew a hard drive, and hopefully within the next week or two I'll have it back up. 7-3 everyone, Ken, KEX, wonderful hearing you here. I'll give his net another plug. It's a great way to spend a Saturday night. 7-3 everyone, back to you, Gary.
Yeah, thanks there, Mark, and thanks for doing the YouTube. At least Lawrence is using it. He's still not answering my question. I'm going to have to get after that guy. And, yeah, I certainly agree. Ken's Saturday Night Net is terrific. And you get a chance to comment and ask questions there, too. Okay, let's see. Next, VA3WM John. You're the guy with the blips. Do you believe the survey that overall we're 2/3 of the way back to normal? Over to you, John. Go ahead.
Okay, Gary. Well, I do appreciate The Economist is a pretty respectable publication. However, I have one question. Did they indicate, and perhaps they did or didn't, I don't know, this is a bugaboo of mine, that time frame in which the survey was taken? And the reason I ask that is between Wave 3 and the onset of Wave 4, we were in a lull. So just wondering if the survey might have been taken in the lull. Back to you.
Yeah, that's a really good point, John, because I thought we were going to be doing great in the springtime when we were all getting vaccines. I thought, boy, by fall, everything will be back to normal. And I had all sorts of plans, but they're not coming to fruition. The date on the article is it's published September 2nd, so I think it was put together over the summer, so it might have something to do with what you say. So I guess we'll have to ask this same question maybe in 6 months' time and see if they retract it or if we all have a different view. Good points. I think the consensus here is they're being a bit optimistic on many of those things. But they do admit flights are 38%, going to the cinema 25%, and sports events only 20%. But if you've seen pictures of the stadiums in the U.S. college football with 100,000 people jammed in yelling and screaming for their team, I don't know. I think it's a lot more than 20% in the U.S., but I'm a little bit off topic. Oh, boy. Okay, Ken, VA3KEX. Come on in. This is the 73 round, and your chance to comment on anything that you've heard.
Amateur radio repeater VE3MIS.
VA3KEX. Thanks, Gary. I found the survey very interesting. As far as retail, I don't know. I'm going through along Brewer West Village, just north of me here in my neighborhood. Lots of businesses been hit bad. Lots of businesses gone under because of this. So I don't know about retail being back to normal at any time during the pandemic. But interesting survey and great net. And thanks for having me on here tonight. Back to you, Gary. VA3KEX.
Yeah, okay there, Ken. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you want us to drum up even more support for your ScienceNet, although it's a jam-packed couple hours as it is, just let us know. We're happy to support you. Okay, Lawrence on YouTube, he still hasn't answered my question. I'm going to get after that guy. It looks like, Reg, you got the final say, if you're still there, and it looks like you still are. VK6 BQQ in Western Australia. Over to you, Reg, for your 73s and any comments on what you've heard.
VA3 Golf Delta Zulu VK6 BQQ. Well, I don't have any comments here. I guess the survey speaks for itself. They'll probably come up with another one like they usually do. But with all those different countries, some were worse than others, particularly the UK and the States, from what I could see. I know a couple of weeks ago I was down to a place called Burswood, and we had the Optus Stadium. 60,000 people in there screaming and yelling, carrying on. So I haven't seen too much in the difference of attending the footy. Down here in Australia, I think they're all crazy as far as their footy goes. So the pandemic hasn't really changed that situation too much. As I say, here in Western Australia, we've been pretty good as far as isolation and so on and so forth. They closed the borders up a couple of times, but I would say that perhaps they should do another survey in a couple more months and see where we go. The worst of it is over in the east side, so our thought is to keep them out of here to keep Western Australia somewhat safe. But there's, air traffic. Well, a lot of the aircraft have gone down. I see there's a lot of activity bringing them back to life, and a lot of the aircraft have been transferred over to cargo. So they're looking for pilots all the time. Anyway, good net, and keep up the good work. We'll have to check this science thing. Maybe you can give me some more details on that, and we'll check into his net there on whatever date that was. Wasn't paying attention. I'm trying to watch a movie here that they've sent me from the Canadian Warplane Heritage regards to our Lancaster. And the CEO is in the cockpit here right now showing us a few things. So I was trying to multitask, and at my age, I can't even remember what I did yesterday. Gary, back to you, sir. Great to have you in here and a great net.
Lost you there, Reg. Did you time out, or were you...
Oh, that's the way I carry on. Sometimes I probably timed out. Not sure.
Yeah, well, when you said I have no comment, I didn't believe you. Hi. Having listened to your Friday net for many a week there. Okay, thank you for those comments. Sounds like we're all skeptical of the results of that survey. And maybe John's point about it was taken over the summer before the fourth wave has hit us. I hope they do it again. It's dated September 2nd, though, so I was surprised to see it, and that's why I wanted to ask you guys what your observations are. I see that we might have Brian back for his 73 and any final comments on what he's heard earlier. Would you like to say anything for the second round, Brian, VA3 AZA? Nope, nothing heard. So any late check-ins? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. Any late check-ins for the Tuesday night net of the Mississauga Amateur Radio Club? Well, okay. Thank you all for joining us tonight and your insights on what's coming back to normal, what might be close to normal, and a lot of things that aren't normal yet. And we'll have to talk about the new normal once we figure it out, because I don't think we've figured it out. You made some good comments about traffic coming back. At least people are back in school, but it's certainly not normal. more kids outside, more people in parks, but that might be the good weather. And certainly here in North America, we're heading in the fall, so who knows what that's going to bring. So thank you for all that input. It's been good to chat with you about that. We'll have some other interesting comments and topics later on. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, you can contact us at VE3MIS at RAC.ca. Or if for feedback and suggestions to me, you can use my email address. It's on my QRZ page. This is Gary, Victor Alpha 3, Golf Delta Zulu, closing the net and returning the repeater to general use. Thank you all for your participation. 7-3.
VE3MIS repeater.